Welcome. Today, we are diving into an absolutely epic showdown between two of Rome's greatest generals. This is a high-stakes game of wits, walls, and just sheer willpower. And believe me, this wasn't just another battle. It was a masterclass in strategy, in desperation, and it all comes down to a single mistake that would literally change the course of history.
All right, so let's meet our players. On one side, we've got Gaius Julius Caesar, the Fox. He's audacious, lightning fast, and a military genius who had just finished conquering all of Gaul. On the other side, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, or as we'll call him, Pompey the Great, the Bear. This guy is immensely powerful, famously cautious, and he's the chosen champion of the Roman Senate. And get this, they were once allies, even family, but now they're locked in a brutal civil war for the very soul of the Republic.
So here's how their incredible story unfolds. We're going to cover their bitter rivalry, a really risky gamble, an unbelievable feat of engineering, a shocking betrayal, a stunning defeat, and finally, a lesson in why winning one battle doesn't always win you the war. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So what brought these two former allies to the brink? Well, this epic clash, which we now know as the Battle of Dyrrhachium, it became a really pivotal moment in Caesar's civil war, a conflict that was basically born from ambition, fear, and a political system that was just fracturing under the weight of these two titans. You see, the Senate was terrified of Caesar's immense popularity and his super loyal veteran legions, so they ordered him to return to Rome as a private citizen, which he knew was a death sentence. He'd be prosecuted for sure. So, seeing it as a trap, in 49 BC he crossed the Rubicon River, famously declaring the die is cast, and boom, the civil war was on. Pompey, who was kind of caught unprepared in Italy, had to make a strategic retreat to Greece. His plan? Gather a colossal army from all over the eastern provinces, and then come back to crush his rival once and for all. Caesar's next move was, well, a massive gamble. To even get to Pompey, he had to cross the Adriatic Sea. But Pompey's powerful navy, led by Caesar's old rival Marcus Bibulus, controlled the waters. And to make things even worse, it was the middle of the winter storm season, absolutely the most treacherous time for any ancient ship to sail. But Caesar, the Fox, he had an ace up his sleeve. You see, as Rome's head priest, he was in charge of the official calendar, and he knew a little secret. It was a full 3 months out of sync with the actual seasons. So while Pompey's navy was hunkered down for what they thought was deep, stormy winter, Caesar knew it was actually calm, early autumn weather. He daringly sailed half his army across. The trick worked, but Bibulus was furious. He immediately blockaded the coast and destroyed Caesar's returning ships, trapping him in Greece with only a fraction of his army. Okay, let's just take a second and really look at the situation here. Caesar is stranded in enemy territory. He's cut off from all supplies and reinforcements, and he's only got 7 legions. Pompey, on the other hand, has 9 legions, with 2 more on the way, a massive cavalry advantage and total control of the sea. So the question on the slide says it all. How on earth do you fight an army twice your size when you're completely trapped? So after a bunch of maneuvers, the two armies ended up near the coastal city of Dyrrhachium, which was Pompey's main supply base. Pompey had an unassailable defensive position, up on the high ground. A direct attack? Total suicide. So Caesar decided on a plan that was so audacious, so unbelievable that nobody saw it coming. He was going to build a giant wall around Pompey's entire army. He was going to besiege the besieger. I mean, just stop and think about that for a moment. With an army half the size of his enemies, and with his men already exhausted and undersupplied, Caesar ordered them to become builders. They started constructing this massive line of fortifications. It's a tactic called circumvallation, which literally means building a wall around your enemy to trap them. And this thing stretched for 17 miles over rugged, hilly terrain. His goal was threefold. 1, cut Pompey off from the land. 2, starve his thousands of horses by preventing them from foraging. And 3, psychologically crush Pompey's reputation by showing the world that Pompey the Great was trapped and too afraid to fight. And the scale of this project was just mind-boggling. This wasn't just some wall. No, it was a complex system of 24 interconnected forts and watchtowers. In response, Pompey had no choice but to start building his own line of defenses, facing Caesar's. This created this bizarre, unprecedented situation. 2 massive armies building walls against each other, with a no-man's land in between that was just full of daily skirmishes. It's kind of a haunting preview of the trench warfare you'd see in World War I, 2,000 years later.
Caesar's insane plan slowly started to work, and it turned the tables in a really unexpected way. As you can see from this breakdown, it became this strange war of resources. Caesar's men were starving. They were forced to survive on boiled roots, but they controlled the land. Pompey's men had plenty of grain shipped in by sea, but, and this is clever, Caesar had diverted all the local rivers and streams. So suddenly, Pompey's massive army, and especially his thousands of cavalry horses, were running desperately low on the two things he couldn't ship in: fresh water and fodder. So this standoff, it just dragged on for months. Pompey was getting desperate. Disease was spreading. His horses were dying. He knew he had to break out, and he had to do it soon. And then he got an incredible stroke of luck from the most unexpected source you could possibly imagine. Two of Caesar's own cavalry officers, these were Gallic noblemen who had been caught stealing pay from their troops. They defected to Pompey's camp to escape punishment. And to prove their new loyalty, they gave Pompey a crucial piece of intelligence. They knew the exact location of an unfinished and therefore incredibly vulnerable weak spot in Caesar's 17-mile wall. Using this secret, Pompey planned a massive, complex, three-pronged surprise attack. He'd send 6 legions to assault the weak point from the front, while at the same time using his ships to land light infantry and archers both behind the outer wall and in the gap between the fortifications. The goal was to hit the defenders from 3 sides at once, smash through, and shatter the siege. At dawn on July 10th, 48 BC, Pompey launched his attack, and it was perfectly executed. Caesar's soldiers defending that southern sector, these were guys from his tough 9th Legion, were caught completely by surprise as they were swarmed from the front, the rear, and the flank all at once. Pompey's legions just smashed through the lines. The sheer shock and the overwhelming numbers created total chaos. Now, these were Caesar's hardened veterans, right? Men who'd conquered Gaul. But they panicked. The line completely collapsed, and for the first time in the entire Civil War, Caesar's army broke and fled in a full-blown rout. The result was an absolute disaster for Caesar. He lost 960 of his irreplaceable veteran soldiers. And these weren't just numbers. These were the skilled, battle-hardened men forged in the fires of the Gallic Wars, the very backbone of his army. Even worse, he lost 32 of his trusted centurions, the experienced officers who held the legions together. In a single morning, his great siege had been utterly broken. Caesar himself rushed to the front, trying desperately to stop the panic. He personally grabbed the legionary standards, the sacred eagles of his legions, and tried to force his men to stand and fight. But it was useless. The panic was just too widespread. His army was defeated, and his enemies were celebrating a victory that looked like it would win them the whole war. But then, Pompey the Bear lived up to his cautious reputation. Fearing that the fleeing army was some kind of trick to lure him into a trap, he made a fateful decision. He ordered his victorious army to stop their pursuit. Caesar, watching from a distance in total disbelief, later said this famous line. He knew that Pompey had the chance to annihilate his army and win the entire war right then and there. But in a moment of hesitation, he let the ultimate prize slip right through his fingers. Now, even though he was badly beaten, Caesar was a master of turning disaster into opportunity. He managed to pull what was left of his shattered army together. Abandoning his failed siege, he began a grueling march away from the coast, deeper into the Greek heartland, desperate to find supplies and a chance to regroup. It certainly looked that way. The senators in Pompey's camp were ecstatic. They hailed him as imperator, they celebrated the victory, and they were all urging him to finish Caesar off. With Caesar on the run and his army weakened, it really seemed like the war was all but over. But was the story really finished? The big lesson from Dyrrhachium is absolutely crucial for understanding what happened next. See, Pompey's army became dangerously overconfident. They thought Caesar was finished. Their excitement turned into arrogance. Meanwhile, Caesar's army, humiliated by their defeat, was more determined than ever. They wanted revenge, and Caesar knew exactly how to use that to his advantage. Pompey's hesitation, his failure to destroy Caesar's army when he had the chance, is going to go down as one of the great what-ifs in military history, because Caesar wouldn't just survive. He would regroup, he would rebuild, and he would leverage his army's hunger for revenge. And just 1 month later, the two rivals would meet again at a place called Pharsalus for one last, decisive battle that would forever determine the fate of the Roman Republic.